Hey everyone, just wanted to create a short video today talking a little bit about a video I came across the other day. And what that was the state of vintage racing as it stands today. And I guess there were some things on there I agreed with, but there was also a lot of things I think I disagreed with as far as vintage racing goes. I race it more. Moore's been around for almost 40 years, I think. Have raced there a long time. I've raced a lot of different stuff. And then finally, I started to get more and more into vintage racing as kits were re-released and sent out there. And then I could get cars more affordably. When I was a kid that I idolized looking at RC car action, I could get a YZ10, I could get an RC10 Graphite, I could get a bunch of other stuff out there, whether it's Kyosho, Tamiya, as well. And I guess what that leads me to is, there was a couple things he pointed out that I guess really kind of had me confused. And I guess the first one is kind of like, well, if you buy a vintage re-release kit and you race that, are you really a vintage racer? And I guess part of me, I get his opinion, but I guess on the second hand of, I have an 870 re-release. To get one of these used years ago, a decent condition one, $500-600, sinking a bunch of money into it to get it so it's just in raceable condition. Another couple $100 before you know it, you're well over the $1,000 mark in trying to get one of these together. But then the re-release kits came out, and now you can get these for $400, often less, and get them together to race with modern lipos, brushless systems, etc., without much of an issue. Same with some of the RC10 re-releases, whether it's Team Associate or in this case a fan RC10 Graphite. And I'll have videos on both of these cars at a later date, but I kind of wanted to get this video out quickly, and one of the other things you start saying as well, tire prep is such a big thing, and, we should have loose tracks versus a sealed track, and the golden era for vintage is right now. And I guess a couple things I'll point out on that is, obviously we have brushless motors, we have lipos, there's no more brushes, cutting your comms, getting cool springs for your motors, anything like that. Same with NiCads. You didn't have to have 6 or 7 battery packs. You can now have one lipo and pretty much run nonstop as long as you can fast charge it. Radios are much better. ESCs are much better. Quality of parts seems to be getting quite a bit better as well. But what the sealed track gives you as far as a vintage racer, right? Both these cars I race at Moore on a regular basis. And I have one set of rims and tires. And those are J Concepts rims, which are direct fits. Yokomo rims, obviously, for the Yokomo. But the tire of choice is J Concepts Smoothie 2s. And all I have to do is mount those up. I throw a little TDK tire sauce on those, and they're great. They're hooked up. The cars handle well, react well. And now I am not chasing tires. I'm not prepping tires. I'm not buying 3 or 4 sets of tires. I'm buying one set, and a huge variable out there is now taken care of, so to speak, right? I know exactly what's needed to make these cars go around the track, and it's not a tire issue. And now I can exclusively work on setup. And in my opinion, that's why cars today have gotten so far, right? You don't have to maintain a motor. You don't have to maintain a battery, or very little maintenance. And now you can really concentrate on, what can you do to make a car go faster, right? Springs, shock oil, adding shims to ball studs, taking away shims, moving them, right? Getting your roll centers and stuff figured out. You have more time to do that. And also, like I said, I think a sealed clay track in the vintage era that's kind of going on right now is a huge advantage to vintage racers. Because like I said, it takes a huge variable out of play, which is tire selection, right? So now you can concentrate on those things to make your car more competitive. And to kind of, I guess, give an example of that, or I guess my opinion on where I'm at is, there's not a vintage Classic More. I don't know if there ever will be a vintage Classic More. Because people are interested, but, people are still kind of hesitant for whatever reason, right? And I think the biggest reason out there is they think they're going to be uncompetitive and wiped out. And so they don't want to show up, spend all this money on an RC10, or what have you, race and just get demolished, finished in last, and they spend all the money on that. So my experiment was I set up my Fan RC10 Graphite and 21.5 Sportsman for the past 4 race weekends. I've qualified for the A, and it's either been 3rd or 4th in the A. I think there was one time where I did qualify 5th, and I've finished about there. And that was anywhere from 8 to, I think, 14 cars. Was maybe the biggest entry in there. So this car has been competitive. More is a small track. It's actually perfect for vintage, which I guess leads me to my next thing is, even though it's a small track and it's perfect for vintage, it does have some bigger jumps that are geared more towards, the new B7s, the newer cars, right? Elites, etc., Mugans, X-Rays. However, my RC10 still did very well. I am a little off the pace of obviously what I do with my B7, but not there to win. I'm not out there to take my RC10 and think I'm going to destroy all the modern cars, right? I am out there just to have fun, learn some things. It puts a smile on my face. When I was a kid, I think 1989 is when I got my first Gold Pan, and I never had an opportunity to race it. Growing up where I was, there was no tracks or anything like that around. I think I ran it more in my mom's garden than anywhere else. And I always wanted to race that car and never had the opportunity. And so now this gets me to relive a little bit of that much easier. And so I can take my RC10, I can take it to the track. I don't have to worry about tire prep. I throw my Smoothie 2s on. I worry more about shock setup, pistons, and also driving as well. If you can drive smooth and consistent, you can usually finish towards the front of the main, and especially in 21.5. And then my Yokomo is a 17.5 four-wheel drive class, so I run that, and that has done rather well. A lot of upgrades to that to make that competitive, and I guess that's the other side of vintage too, is if you do all these upgrades to your Yokomo 870C, is that vintage now? Or is it just a highly modified RC car, right? Big bores, tall exo, shock towers, etc. However, my Fan RC10 is completely stock. No real aftermarket stuff on this. And it does really well. Stock shocks, no big bores, anything like that. And I've had a great time doing it. And, he made the insinuation that, the higher level of grip, the less fun it is to race. And I couldn't disagree more. I think it's fantastic. It gives you a huge amount of grip. It allows you to concentrate on other things on your car. Setup wise, if there's something wrong with your setup right away, right? You make a change, you go out, do a couple practice runs. The track is so consistent that hey, that change wasn't the right direction. I need to either change this back or do something else before my next heat or the mains that are coming up near the end of the day. So I really wanted to just get this video out. And, I guess there's really 2 classifications of us vintage racers out there, right? There's the guys that have made the sacrifice and, they've sourced parts for whatever vehicle it is, right? A 93 YZ10 works, Traxxas TRX1, a bunch of the low Z cars, whether it's a double X4 or double XCR, what have you. And I've been into that for a long time, source the parts, race those cars. But us new vintage guys, if you buy a re-release kit, are you any less vintage than those guys. And I guess I would argue the stance that you're not, right? I could go out and I could have bought an RC10. I could have bought the parts. Financially, it wouldn't have been a very smart decision. Those parts were bringing a premium price years ago. A World's Car re-release kit. Back in the day, you could get them at a hobby shop on clearance for like $250. And now on eBay, they're bringing, $1,400 to $2,000, sealed in the package. So if you bought it and set it on the shelf, that's an investment. If you bought it and raced it, probably not the best economics for you. However, now with all the re-release kits out there, right? This Fan RC10, not really going to be worth much. It is just a RC10 re-release with all the suppliers out there, whether it's Fan RC, Rubix Racing Products, Associated themselves have a ton of support for this platform now. You are starting to see parts at hobby shops, and you're also starting to see a lot more manufacturers come into it, whether it's Schumacher, Kyosho, Tamiya, etc. That you can buy that car that you liked when you were a kid. There's not a huge financial burden on it, and you can source parts easily. And in the 4 race weekends between both these cars, I've broken exactly one part. I've never broke anything on my Fan RC10 Graphite. This car has been fantastic. On my Yokomo, the only thing I've ever broke, and it didn't really break, was I stripped some teeth out of the rear belt pulley. Probably because I had my brake settings too high on that. So I've changed that out, and it's been fine now for 2 race weekends, I believe. So haven't had an issue there. Are changing out the bulkhead caps and a couple other things to refresh it here. Like I said, I'll have videos both on this in the future. So, I would like to hear people's opinions and what they think. And like I said, I think there's 2 very different vintage racers out there, right? I think there's the old school guys that have been doing this for a long time, have sourced parts, built their kits, cars, modified them, what have you. And then I think there's the new vintage racer that is buying the re-release kits, and maybe they're going out a couple times, or there's someone like me that is serious about racing, and I don't care if there's a vintage class. I'll take this and run 21.5, or I'll run 17.5 against whatever's there. If I don't feel really like racing either my B7 or my B74. 0.1. I have more fun with these. I think it's great to get these out there, get them running. People seem to enjoy them out there. I enjoy it a lot more because there's not really pressure to win, right, with an old RC10 or a Yokomo. But I do still do relatively well and competitive. And like I said, I think that's the bigger thing. But did want to create this short video and just see what people's thoughts and ideas were on that in the state of vintage racing, as it stands today. So comment below if you are into vintage stuff or the re-release stuff. Comment below as well. Let me know you'd like to see. I have quite a bit of the re-release cars and Yokomos. My 91 Works comes in this week. Some are box stock, and some, like this Yokomo, are heavily modified, so I can race it and be as competitive as possible. So comment below, subscribe, throw a few likes, and we will see you on the next one.